Hey guys, it's Digitech Lifestyle here, right? I just wanted to say this really and truly. Terra USD crash will make it harder for crypto regulations. I am sorry to say it, but that I believe is what the powers that be needed in order to get a hold of this market. They wanted this to happen. Whether it was planned or not, it doesn't really matter. The fact is, regulations needed to happen. The market's wild. Nobody knows who to trust. Those companies that are out there doing the right thing with the KYC and AML, they're going to be safe. All those tokens out there that, the over, God knows how many tokens, I think there's like 1,200 or so, or more than that now probably. A lot of those are going to disappear. And unfortunately, a lot of people are involved in those currencies and they don't realize it. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's boring to go with these coins like XRP, XLM, XDC, and all those kind of coins, right? They're the coins of the future. Unfortunate to say it to you, those are the coins of the future. There's only a few. 99% of these cryptocurrencies are going to be wiped off the planet. 99%. And we're seeing that with Terra. We're seeing that right now with Terra. If that comes back, God, it's going to take a long time before that actually picks up and goes back to its normal where it was before. It's dropped 90-something%. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I wanted to play this video, and I hope you understand where all this is coming from, because this needs to happen.
Now, one area where Republicans and the White House might be able to work together is on stablecoins. There's a lot of concern over the lack of transparency in the underlying assets. Both sides today said they want to work on legislation that would create a sensible federal framework, and that legislation could happen this year. Morgan?
Where I was going to go with you, Ilan, was the stablecoin piece of the discussion, just for cryptocurrencies in general. Obviously, we see this huge downdraft in those assets right now, increasing focus, increasing attention, and discussion around regulation and what specifically could actually come out of this discussion in terms of that. I mean, is there anything meaningful other than the rhetoric that we're hearing amid this testimony in terms of shaping those regulations?
Yeah, there's a lot of attempts to create some really significant and substantial legislation here. Senator Pat Toomey has already put out a framework for what stablecoin legislation would look like. One area of disagreement that he said he had with the administration is that the Treasury Department and the White House would like to see any sort of backers of stablecoins be insured depository institutions. What exactly does that term mean? What counts as a so-called IDI? That's going to be where some of the details still need to be hashed out, but there is a real bipartisan attempt on Capitol Hill to come up with some type of legislation, but like anything in Congress these days, getting it across the finish line or even to the start of the race is going to be difficult.
That, and she had some meeting in Congress or something to do with cryptocurrency, so let's listen to a bit of that, and then
that's all we're asking. And then let me start with Secretary, the cryptocurrency, because I do believe and I want to be a part of this discussion, we do need a regulatory framework for stablecoins. Last week, Fabio Panetta, one of the European Central Bank's 6 executive board members, noted that the cryptocurrency market is now larger than the subprime mortgage market, which triggered the global financial crisis. Nobody knows that better than us in the state of Nevada. And he says this, $1.3 trillion market shows strikingly similar dynamics. There are about 10,000 crypto assets now. So my question, Madam Secretary, is one financial risk posed by cryptocurrencies is the concentration of ownership. Do you see any financial risk because professional investors and high net worth individuals hold almost 2/3 of the Bitcoin supply?
So I'm not sure if the concentration of holdings among high wealth investors, if that's true, poses in and of itself a financial risk unless those investors happen to be leveraged so that a decline in the value of the assets can trigger financial distress, which spills over to others. But certainly I think there are many risks associated with cryptocurrencies, and the president has asked the Treasury and FSOC to look at those risks. We will issue a comprehensive report shortly. The president's working group has already described the risks we see in connection with one form of crypto assets, which is stablecoins, and there we see run risks which could threaten financial stability, risks associated with the payment system and its integrity, and risks associated with increased concentration if stablecoins are issued by firms that already have substantial market power.
Going back to what Janet Yellen said, right? I ain't being funny here. When I think back to what she's just saying, whales do pose a risk. They can pump it and they can dump it. What is she? Do you know what I mean? I thought she was some kind of financial analyst or whatever you want to call those people over there in your country, in America. I'm sorry to say it, but they should know. The fact that they allow insider trading within the government itself is astonishing. That goes against everything. So she knows exactly what goes on. I mean, like at some point down the line, these people, Janet Yellen and all that lot, are going to have to sell their stocks because the regulations are saying you guys can't keep that stuff anymore because it's a conflict of interest. So we all know that. She knows that. So her saying that is just bullshit. Sorry. I just had to say it. Oh my days. I came across this and I kind of like thinking what they're saying is true, because like they're saying unlike rival stablecoin, Tether and USDT is not backed by any real world assets such as bonds. Instead, the Luna Foundation Guard, a non-profit created by Tera founder Do Kwon, is holding 3.5 billion of Bitcoin in reserve. So, you know, who caused that problem, you could ask? You know, if he's got 3.15 billion of Bitcoin in reserve, why did that crash? Why did Terra Luna crash? You know, one could argue they are doing something wrong here. You know, let's listen to what this
So,
guy
Nick,
said.
we're hearing that Luna has sold off its Bitcoin reserves. I wonder if we can just start with, you know, how exactly does an algorithmic stablecoin work?
Well, there's a huge variety of different models in algorithmic stablecoins. There's no one way that they work. In this case, there were some Bitcoin reserves. You could redeem your USTs for Bitcoin. You could also redeem them for Luna, which is effectively the equivalent of bank equity in the system. It's the native token in the Tera ecosystem. But for the most part, the system is backed by a state. It's not fully guaranteed. It's certainly not fully backed by reserves. It was really just backed by faith in the issuer, effectively. And so that's how it works, basically, whether you trust the issuer to conduct open market operations to ensure that the peg is regained, which is, you know, obviously not the case right now.
Just how significant is this?
Well, it would be a significant reversal in the narrative, right? Because just a few weeks ago, you know, there were entreaties from the Luna ecosystem to the Bitcoiners, right? And it was perceived generally as a very good thing for Bitcoin, right? We are accumulating this huge reserve of Bitcoin. I believe the Terra folks made claims of maybe up to $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. And then just a few short weeks later, they're apparently liquidating Bitcoin to support the peg. So all they ended up doing was just adding a massive amount of cyclicality and reflexivity to the price of Bitcoin. I mean, you know, the net effect has not been positive, right? Whereas the way this was pitched to the Bitcoin community was, hey, we're going to be, you know, really taking a lot of Bitcoin supply off the market and locking it away for a long period of time. That's manifestly not the case. And all things considered, not a great outcome for Bitcoin itself.
Off with this, the USD situation could give governments like the US an excuse to crack down on stablecoins over even harder. George Hart, co-founder of Solana, focused portfolio, and they ain't doing very well either, are they? Not being funny, they keep having I think it's about 8 times they went out this year already or something. So, you know, we do need regulations, I think. To a certain extent, we don't want to be over-regulated, and we certainly don't want to have a situation where our governments are actually using the CBDC to control and tell you how exactly you should be spending your money. That is your choice. You know, we don't tell them they can't go and spend their money on places like in Europe and blowing them up and that. Do you know what I mean? They're doing what they want to do, so why can't we do what we want to do? Is the question. You know, we don't need that crap. We don't need any of those kind of regulations, stipulations that you can't spend it wherever you want, do whatever you want. I mean, when I think about all the illicit things that these people do at the top, you've got to question who's right and who's wrong, who's the many and who's the few. Do you know what I mean? Who's the few are controlling the many. Come on. The many outweigh, and therefore we should be. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Good luck, good day, stay safe in this ever-changing world that we're living in, and don't get scammed, get regulated. Do you take lifestyle out?